Yo, wake up, America. While you were busy scrolling through TikTok or checking your fantasy football scores, your bank account just got a massive neon red target painted on it. We aren't talking about some petty street heist or a basement crypto scam. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar shakedown happening in broad daylight, right in the halls of Congress. Imagine this. The President of the United States is suing the very government he runs, and the guy holding the keys to the nation's vault, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, just basically admitted to the Senate that he's nothing more than a certified wire transfer boy. This hearing wasn't just some boring policy talk to put you to sleep. It was a full-blown exposure of how the U.S. Treasury might have just become a personal piggy bank for the elite. Let's talk numbers, and let's talk dirty. Trump is suing the IRS, yes, his own agency, for 10 yards. That's $10 billion. The official excuse? Reputational harm from his tax leaks back in the day. But here is the kicker that should make your blood boil. In a genius Senate trap laid by Ruben Gallego, Bessent was forced to admit the truth. If Trump wins, or even shadier, decides to settle with himself, that money doesn't come from some magic insurance fund or a billionaire's pocket. It comes straight out of the Treasury general account. That's your tax money. That's the money meant for your crumbling roads, your kids' schools, and our national security. It's potentially getting wired directly to a private bank account in Mar-a-Lago while you're struggling to pay rent. This is peak main character energy, but on a national, catastrophic scale. The conflict of interest is so loud it's deafening. How can you be the boss of the agency you're suing, pick the lawyers defending the case, and then tell the American public it's a fair fight? And what was the Treasury Secretary's grand defense? He basically played the "I just work here" card. He repeatedly called himself a Paymaster, as if he's just some clerk at a grocery store and not the guardian of the world's reserve currency. When the senators asked if he'd have the spine to stop the check, he stuttered, fumbled with his notes, and gave the ultimate coward's line, "I follow the law." Translation, if the boss says cut the check, I hit send on the wire. This is a complete hollowing out of American oversight. We've officially gone from Harry Truman's "the buck stops here" to "the buck starts here" and goes straight to the president's pockets. The oversight is dead, the vault is open, and the person we hired to guard it is just watching the clock. While the big guys in Washington are busy debating how to move billions into the president's personal accounts, let's talk about what's happening at your kitchen table. Because while you're out here trying to figure out if you can afford the name brand cereal this week, the Treasury Department is busy playing mind games with the math. This is what we call affordability gaslighting, and it's reaching a fever pitch. Enter Senator Elizabeth Warren. She walked into that hearing room with receipts that would make a CVS cashier blush. We've all heard the campaign promises. Prices will drop on day one. We'll make America affordable again. But a year into this administration, the president is calling the cost of living crisis a hoax and a scam. Think about that. When you're at the checkout line and your total is 30% higher than it was 2 years ago, the White House is telling you that your eyes and your bank balance are lying to you. Secretary Bessent, the self-proclaimed economic genius of the regime, sat there and tried to tell the American people that prices are falling. But when Warren hit him with the actual data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Trump's own agency, the truth came out. Grocery prices didn't drop in 2025. They climbed by 2.4%. Milk, eggs, bread, the basics of human survival are becoming luxury items. Bessent's only move? Blame the previous administration. It's the oldest trick in the book. Take credit for the sunshine and blame your predecessor for the rain. But the reality is, you can't pay your rent with excuses, and you can't feed your kids with nuance. And let's look at the manufacturing boom we were promised. They called it Liberation Day when they slapped those massive tariffs on everything coming across the border. They told us it would bring the jobs back, revive the Rust Belt, and make Made in America the gold standard again. Well, the data is in, and it's a total nightmare. According to the Federal Reserve, we've lost 72,000 manufacturing jobs in the last year alone.
Manufacturers are shedding workers for 8 consecutive months because the Trump tariffs have made the cost of raw materials, the steel, the aluminum, the components, so expensive that American factories can't compete. It's a strange kind of liberation that leaves you standing in an unemployment line. The administration is telling you the economy is in a golden age while you're checking your bank app twice before you swipe your card at the gas pump. It's not just inflation, it's a credibility gap the size of the Grand Canyon. They're building a mirage of success on top of a foundation of struggling families, and they're hoping you're too tired from working 2 jobs to notice the math doesn't add up. Now, if the $10 billion shakedown and the grocery gaslighting didn't wake you up, this next part will. We're going behind the curtain of the shadow cabinet. Because while official government employees are supposed to be vetted, confirmed by the Senate, and held accountable by the law, this administration has a different secret sauce, the unofficial envoys. Let's talk about Jared Kushner. Remember him? The president's son-in-law. During the hearing, Democratic Senator Andy Kim cornered Secretary Bessent with a question that should haunt every taxpayer. What exactly is Jared Kushner's official role in the U.S. government right now? Bessent's answer was a masterclass in stuttering. He called him an interlocutor and a special envoy. But here's the sus part. Kushner hasn't been confirmed by the Senate for anything. He's a private citizen, a billionaire investor, and yet he's sitting in 5-hour meetings with Vladimir Putin's top aides in Moscow and Abu Dhabi, negotiating the fate of the Russia-Ukraine war. Critics are screaming pay to play, and for good reason. Think about the optics. Kushner runs a private equity firm, Affinity Partners, which is largely funded by the same Middle Eastern governments he dealt with during Trump's first term. We're talking billions from Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Now he's back in the room making deals that affect global oil prices and national security, while the actual State Department is basically left on read. This isn't just a breach of protocol, it's a total takeover of the American brand by a private family firm. It sends a message to the world. If you want to talk to America, don't go to the White House, reroute your private jet to the family office. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. Senator Kim also brought up the Pakistan crypto connection. Reports are surfacing that Pakistan is now planning to use Trump family-linked crypto platforms for cross-border trade. Let that sink in. A foreign nation is potentially using a private company owned by the president's family to move its national wealth. This creates a conflict of interest so massive, it's essentially a conflict of reality. When Bessent was pushed on whether this concerns him as the Treasury Secretary, his go-to move was the shrug. He claimed to be unaware of the family business deals. In Washington, "I don't know" usually means "I don't want to go to jail for what I know." We're seeing a 2-tiered system emerge, one where official diplomats follow the rules and another where the inner circle makes the real deals in the shadows. This is main character energy taken to its most dangerous conclusion, where the line between the national interest and the family interest has been completely erased. Are we still a republic, or are we witnessing the first family-run franchise of the United States? If you thought the shadow cabinet was wild, Part 4 is where the corruption gets digital. Let's dive into what people are calling the Binance World Liberty scandal. This is straight out of a mob movie. We're talking about Changpeng Zhao, also known as CZ, the founder of Binance. This guy pled guilty to some of the most massive money laundering charges in history. We're talking billions of dollars flowing through his exchange for terrorists, drug traffickers, and sanctioned regimes. He went to federal prison. Case closed, right? Wrong. Fast forward to 2025. Suddenly, a massive $2 billion investment from an Emirati-linked fund flows into World Liberty Financial, the crypto company owned and promoted by the Trump family. Just weeks after that money hits the ecosystem, boom, a full presidential pardon for CZ. The White House says it's about ending the war on crypto, but the rest of the world sees a $2 billion receipt for a get-out-of-jail-free card. Senator Andy Kim grilled Bessent on this, asking if pardoning a convicted money launderer who just happened to be connected to the family's business partners was a conflict of interest. Bessent's response was, "I wear many hats, the pardon hat is not one of them." Talk about a sus answer. But this isn't just about one guy getting out of prison. It's about the integrity of the US dollar. When the world sees that the US president can be influenced by crypto deposits into his family business, the dollar loses its status as the world's safe haven, and the damage is already showing up in the data. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto dropped a bombshell during the hearing: a $70 billion travel and trade deficit. International travelers from Canada, India, Germany, and Australia are officially ghosting the USA. They're boycotting Vegas, Florida, and NYC. Why? Because of the tariff chaos and the administration's America alone attitude. We're losing billions because the world is tired of the drama and the unpredictability. This is a trillion-dollar industry that supports millions of American jobs, and yet the Treasury Secretary seemed dismissive, asking if occupancy in Vegas is up for Americans, instead of addressing the massive loss of international wealth. It's a no-cap disaster. We're burning bridges with our biggest allies, and the only people benefiting